So for those of you just joining us, I'm here talking with Dr. Ryan Burkhart. He is the program director at CCU, Colorado Christian University, for the Master of Arts in Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Did I get that right?
It's a mouthful, but
That's
yes,
a mouthful
that's exactly
for
right.
me. So thank you so much for being here. We're really excited to have you, especially because CCU has just become our newest strategic partner here at My Quiet Cave, which means that our community members, those of My Quiet Cave, get a pretty awesome discount. There's a discount program opportunity. If you want to go back to school or earn a different degree, just go on to myquietcave.org on our homepage, and you can click on under our strategic partners. You see CCU there, and just click on that and it'll explain some more information. So today we're talking about just supporting the family during COVID. We just talked about specifically what that looks like with our adolescents. And I think now you've got some tips for us talking about just kind of the family as a whole unit. Is that correct?
Yeah. And again, kind of the same thing, right? Our kiddos are going through some stuff. We're going through some stuff. And here's the truth about family systems. It's a system made up of individual members. So when an individual or several individuals of that system go through some things or experience stress or loss or whatever it is, it will impact the whole system. And the thing that's been unique about COVID, it has impacted the family system-wide. This is a system-wide impact for our families. And it's been challenging. It has just been challenging for a lot of families. We're seeing increased needs in marriage and family therapy. So this is having an impact on marriages and the relationship. Whoever would have thought that we'd be around each other 24/7 all day long with the kids running around us as well. Holy cow, the dog needs to be let out as well. Like, there's just so much that we're dealing with as family systems that inevitably COVID has really harmed many family systems, on top of just the loss of family members as well. So it's been 2020. What else can you say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Well, it makes a lot of sense too, with it just being more stress on marriages. As you're talking, I'm trying to remember some of the top reasons, that couples argue, fight, or even seek divorce. One is like financial, then there's parenting, and then grief or loss, right? Mm-hmm. So, COVID brings all of those things. You've got the kids at home, and people aren't used to being around each other all the time. I know in my family. And then, lots of loss of income. So it makes sense. Why so many marriages right now, relationships are struggling.
Yeah. And I think often one of the things that happens with marriages and relationships in the midst of all this is it's almost like we're not giving credit where credit's due. And what I mean by that is, I think some of the challenges that family system and marriages are experiencing, we're understanding these challenges through the lens of what's wrong with me and what's wrong with you, what's wrong with us. And I think if I could encourage people at times to pause and just say, COVID could be causing this in us. This isn't necessarily a problem with you or me or us. The truth is, our marriage and our family are going through a lot, and we're struggling because of that. It's not me and you. That very well may be the case in a lot of situations, but I don't hear it often being a part of the equation that families and marriages are trying to figure things out. It almost immediately becomes an I-you problem versus a COVID problem. So I just want to encourage marriages and family systems, just like parents, give yourself some grace. You're going through a lot.
Yeah, no, that's really important to remember. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Well, when we talk about family systems that will succeed in this, we mentioned this when we were talking about adolescence a little bit, but families who will succeed in the midst of COVID are going to be the family systems who find a balance between stability and flexibility. So I mentioned that a few minutes ago. Really, it's about knowing when to bring stability to your family as a parent and when to be a little flexible. And that's a sticky wicket. It's kind of a gray area. In many situations, there isn't a black and white, right and wrong answer. It's really a decision that you as a family kind of have to make. And I think if you're married and there's two of you in this, I think it's really important that the two of you are circling up and having these conversations about where do we need to bring structure and bring stability, and where do we need to kind of let go of a few things in response to what COVID's doing. So really, when we find a family system that has a balance between stability and flexibility, we have this thing created called family resiliency. So, and again, I talked about resiliency with our kiddos as well. And if you pick up those two books, The Coddling of the American Mind and The Madness of Crowds, you'll see a lot of talk in there about resiliency, and what that looks like and how important that is for our own development and mental health, just as individuals, but also as family systems. So when we talk about family resiliency starts with dialogue and conversations within a family system that doesn't seek to solve a problem, but strengthen the relationship. So we're not having this conversation to try to figure out how to solve a problem or solve an issue, but really it's about how do we in our relationship come together and strengthen our relationship and together figure this out. So it's bringing the kids at times with certain situations, it's bringing the kids into this process and almost partnering with your kids to even lend some of their ideas and give feedback to what's going on. So you're strengthening relationships. That's your goal of conversations versus figuring things out. Yes, you got to figure things out at times. Those conversations have to happen. It's not all kumbaya, right? Like there are times when you've got to figure things out. But try to integrate these conversations that are about the relationship and figuring things out together versus just as the parent making a decision and moving the family that way, if that makes sense.
It does. I like that. And it also tells our kids and our spouses, like, I respect you enough to value your opinion, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend like I'm the expert. I want to hear what you have to say.
Sure.
Pretty powerful.
The second thing I'll say, and I've got 4 of them for families, is more than ever, parents, if you're married, find ways to pour into each other. Pray for each other, intercede for each other, read the Bible together, have dates, even if it's like putting the kids to bed early and sitting in the kitchen and having a date right now, right? Do Uber Eats, do Lyft, do something and just have food brought to you. Light a candle, and have Uber Eats deliver Taco Bell and have a date, right? Super fancy here, but just figuring out how you can pour into each other. If you're a single mom or a single dad, again, you're a superhero for sure. How can you pour into yourself? How can you take care of yourself? And I know that at times this is easier said than done, but even if it's 5, 10, 15 minutes a day, just doing something that puts you first for a few minutes, and taking care of yourself. The third thing is we've already talked about how kiddos need structure. They often found that structure in schools. A lot of schools right now are online. So really you and your kiddos need to be kind of working on developing structure for them individually. But also family systems need structure. So what's been interesting is I've been hearing families talk about the development of like family norms and rules in the midst of COVID. Things like, we will do the best to respect each other. So these conversations that you really didn't ever have to have before, because yes, they happened, but they happened once in the evening, maybe twice in the evening, and you're good to go. But some of the stuff that's normal family system stuff, because we're around each other 24/7 right now, is really kind of sparking up. So family systems are kind of showing some initiative and saying, what are some things that we can do to make sure that we have some norms and rules around the house that take care of our system? And listen, they had the same thing at school. So where, my 12-year-old stepson goes to school at, they had all these like moral rules, like respecting other people, valuing other people. Yeah. They had that stuff in school. So it may feel weird for us to integrate that into the home and say, you must respect each other and treat each other nicely. But guess what? They were getting that at school. So this is a chance for you at home to really incorporate the moral values that you hold dear. the moral values that you and your family system have, and to instill that into your kids as we're trying to figure out what it means to be a family system who's never away from each other.
Yeah. And that makes sense. But we never really have those conversations as a family.
Yeah.
Because I was just thinking about it. You raise this little bitty baby, and so you don't have conversations then. And so you just kind of behave and act in a way that becomes the norm. You don't ever say, hey, how can we respect and love each other at the house? So I like that. Have a conversation about it.
Well, there's been a lot of talk for several years, for many years, about how we may as a culture have handed over the moral upbringing of our kids to the school system. And listen, I think teachers are incredible people. They're doing a great job. They've got a lot on their plate. But I think one of the things that we have a chance to maybe re-engage as a family system in the midst of that is greater intentionality around the moral upbringing of our kiddos, since they're at home all the time now. So I hate to again use the word opportunity when it comes to COVID, but we do have an opportunity here. As we've been saying for years, that we've lost some of the moral upbringing to systems outside of us. We have an opportunity to kind of maybe generate some of those systems back in the family system.
Awesome.
Third of 3 of 4. I promise, Kimberly, I'm wrapping up.
Okay. You're fine.
Okay. So collaboratively establish routines and structures that include fun. So as we're doing these things,
yes,
we're making a schedule. It doesn't all have to be dun 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 dun, right? Put some silly things in there for your kids. Put fun in there. Have them generate ideas, whatever it is. But make the structure engaging. School systems and their structure have recess, right? And they have lunch, and they're goofing around with their friends, and they even have, like, when they're in between classes and they're in the hallways, they're messing with each other in the hallways. We all remember high school, right? So there was these breaks where we could almost kind of cognitively disconnect and socially engage. So as you're creating this structure, be creative with how you're doing it as well at home. Fourth thing, last thing, Kimberly. So when it comes to conflicts between kiddos, right? I don't care how good your kiddos are. They could be the best kiddos in the world. They're going to fight. It's a mathematical certainty, right? It's just going to happen. Whenever you are engaging those conflicts, really figure out how your rewards and consequences of those conflicts can focus on your kids' ability or inability to manage the conflict themselves. So if they do get into an argument and they're able to figure it out together, reward it. If they do get into an argument and they can't figure this stuff out together, when you're having the conversation with them, really not so much focus on, I'm tired of y'all fighting, right? Because we've all said that as parents.
That's what I say every day.
I'm tired of hearing you two, right? Yeah. But really, it could also be on, I'm really frustrated that the two of you can't manage this yourself, right? I'm disappointed that you guys can't manage this conflict on your own. So again, you're kind of empowering the kids to learn how to manage interpersonal conflict. Guess what? At some point, they're leaving your home. They're going to go get a job, and they're going to have a coworker who drives them up the wall, like they can't stand them. Mm-hmm. So when you're talking about conflict within a family system, kind of empowering the family system's ability to manage the conflict is a really important thing that kids need to learn in their own development, because it helps them function better as big kiddos, as adults. It does.
I like that. And again, kind of taking a step back for a moment, giving them time to manage it on their own. But I like what you said about kind of rewarding them or praising them when they are able to resolve that on their own. I'd not thought of that before.
Yep, that's a huge thing that we should be instilling in our kids, right? So kind of the themes I've been talking on, right, has been kind of a collaborative spirit, structure, resiliency, and empowerment. Those are the things that I think COVID is taking from us in many ways. And we need to be very intentional, just as a family system, how we're intentionally instilling these things and lending these things back to our family system and to our kiddos.
Well, these were all very practical um, and easy to follow steps, I think, or simple to follow. I won't say easy.
Yeah, like all these parenting tips and family tips are always like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then you get into it and it's like, oh my gosh, it's a nightmare.
Well, we just fall back into our old patterns where I'm just yelling at my kids and be like, "No, be
Yeah.
quiet in there," you know.
Yeah, it's like
Uh,
you do the best you can with what you got.
You do. And what's cool though is just hearing you talk about some of these things. I was thinking, I did do a few of those things early on in COVID, the having fun. Like
Yeah.
we would do breakfast for dinner and just try and do fun little things. But I think as we've gone on with time, I've just fallen back into old habits and patterns and just gotten more and more frustrated. So
Sure.
this was really refreshing and much needed, especially for me, especially today. So I appreciate that. Any final thoughts, Ryan? Anything, or Dr. Burkhart, anything that I haven't asked you that you wanted to add? I was just looking here on our page and we don't have any questions yet. So if anybody's tuning in right now and has a question for us, if you'll just throw it up there on our Facebook page and we'll ask the expert here. But final thoughts while we're waiting on that?
I think, I think we just need hope. I really do. I think as individuals, as family systems, as a culture, I think what we're really longing for is just the hope that we're going to get past this and that this is going to get better. And I also think that in many ways, we're longing for leadership in some way, whether it's at our job, at our church, at a government level. We're longing for leadership that gives us hope. And I think that's the opportunity that we have just as families, as parents, and also just as believers, is to lend hope to the hopelessness. And I think if I could have a call, right, a call to action for our faith communities, it would be give hope, lend hope. Yes, people are doing things that you may not agree with. People have thought patterns that you may not agree with, but engage in relationship and lend hope. Lend hope. That's what we need. And that, I think, is what Jesus offers. And I think that is what causes change in people. It's the hope that we can give our kids, our families, our communities, our culture. That's really powerful. And I hope that we find ways to give hope.
I love that. Lend hope. If anybody's tuning in that needs help with this or is looking for hope, feels very hopeless in their situation, reach out to us. You can go to our website, myquietcave.org. If you're looking for support as far as other groups and looking just for peer support, we do that really well. You can reach out to us. And also, Dr. Burkhart, if you wanted to just kind of plug a little, again, the counseling program that you have there, the mental health counseling program.
Yeah, I guess if you want to become a professional lender of hope,
yes,
as a clinical mental health counselor, we do have a really robust accredited clinical mental health counseling graduate degree at CCU. And it's integrated into faith to the fullest extent. What we always say is that we believe that ethical and clinical mental health counseling brings restoration, redemption, healing, and hope. And we believe that very much aligns with the mission of Jesus, that the mission of Jesus was to bind up broken hearts, set captives free. And that's really what counseling is. So we believe that how we're training people when they graduate and go and get these jobs, that they are directly advancing the kingdom of Jesus in whatever way they engage people as clinical, ethical mental health counselors. So if that's an interest of you, right, ccu.edu/counseling. Check the program out. Also, one of the things that we've recently launched down in Colorado Springs, at least, is a low-cost community counseling center that's run by our CCU counseling students. So we also have that availability as well. And you can find more information on that at ccu.edu/counseling. I don't know if we can put information in the comments below in the counseling center as well, but
I can do that.
But we definitely are trying to give back to the community through low-cost clinical mental health services, not only in the Springs area, but teletherapy is here. COVID has brought teletherapy for our profession, so they're also providing teletherapy. So that's an option as well. So we hope to maybe engage you in any way that we can, and just equip and empower you to go out and bring healing and restoration.
Awesome. And as one of our strategic partners, the CCU Counseling Center, there is a discount for My Quiet Cave members as well to receive mental health counseling in the spring.
I didn't even know that.
Yes.
That's awesome, Kimberly. That's fantastic.
I know, it's so cool. And also, again, I mentioned the tuition discount program. You can learn more about it on our website at myquietcave.org. At the bottom, just click on the CCU as our strategic partner, and you can learn more about that discount program. So again, Dr. Burkhart, it was really fun to talk to you today. And
anytime. I love always connecting with you, Kimberly. I love supporting what My Quiet Cave has going on. You guys are doing some cool stuff, and I'm just grateful to partner with you guys in any way that I can.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll think of another topic in a couple of months, and we'll do this again. It was fun.
Come back and yak. Everyone can listen to the beard yak.
Let's do it. The big farmer from Indiana.
Yeah. Yep, that's right.
Great. Well, you have an awesome day. I appreciate it. And we'll see all of you again at our next Facebook Live. Thank you.
Thank you.